So, hello. This is a slightly different format of video. This will be a game that I am not actually participating in, but rather I am a sort of global observer to the events of the game. This game is lovingly titled the Shitterbowl, not because the players in it are actually particularly terrible, but this is a very low skill game. All these players have played at least one multiplayer game before, so no one's completely new to Dominions 5, but still, this is very low level, for sure. And we're going to be taking a sort of observer overview of the whole game, mirroring the same style that Attica uses for his videos. And so we're going to be skipping turn 1 because nothing interesting happens on turn 1. And starting with Arcus F Lee. So a message arrived from Arcus F Lee to himself. He sent this message to everyone. This is a bit of an odd message because this is just a copy-paste of the this is just a copy-paste of the message that everyone gets on turn 1. The lore message. But it's nice. It's nice flavor. And then we have 4 prophets, which means someone didn't decide to make a prophet, and it was Marignon. Arcus F Lee announced Alepos. Ulm, Alfred, Agartha, he who brings tendies to the caves. And some scout. So Agartha is already in a big lead. So this is the map. We're on turn 2. So yes, the 5 people playing are Arcus F Lee, led by their god Short Boy, the Seducer of Life, the King of Kings, Lord of the Open Road. Ulm, who is being led by Listen Here Jack, the Armorer, the Divine Architect. Marignon, who's being led by the Firelink Shrine Firekeeper, Master of the Elements, King of Mountains, and Eater of Filth. Oh god, what a horrible title. And then Agartha is being led by the softest, shittiest body, the Patron of Artisans, the Unsleeping God, Bringer of Misfortune, and Phaecia being led by Big White Cock, Lord of this World, the Flame of Evil, Eater of Children, the Man-Eater. Really doesn't sound like a good god in any way whatsoever. So, rules-wise, this is a pretty smallish game. There are 6 thrones. You only need to claim 4 of them to win. Which is a decent number. We won't be able to see the score graphs, but that's okay. We'll be able to look at what every nation is doing beforehand. So to start, we have Arcus F Lee, who, let's look at his Bless first. So this is Arcus F Lee's Bless. It is just Blood Surge presently, which makes me think, well, okay, Arcus F Lee doesn't really get a lot of benefit out of taking a huge Bless because their Heart Companions are not the best Sacreds. Like, they're okay. Formation Fighter's a cool ability that lets you get some more attack density. But their stats aren't that great. They're kind of resource expensive. Like, their gold cost is low-ish. But their hit points, I mean, their protection's okay. Their MR is better than Ulm, but not that good. Like, just nothing about this is really extraordinary, except Formation Fighter's cool. And they don't have any other sacred recruitable units. So, but it appears Arcus F Lee is going with Chariots, which is a unit I enjoy for expansion. Get a handful of these and they can just trample over human-sized units pretty efficiently with 2 attacks. Spear and a short sword will just kill everything. And he's recruiting 2 mounted commanders instead of a mage. I guess this is okay. I'm not quite sure why he's going to do that. Maybe he's splitting his the chariots. He's going to split them into two. This is his starting army. Huh. Okay, so he has his peltasts, which these guys are okay. Their stat line doesn't look super impressive, like 5 protection's extremely poor. But they have a javelin, which is cool. 2 of them? 2 of them? No, just 1 javelin. Still, javelin's good. Could throw it, kill something. So he's got these guys in the front on hold and attack closest. I don't know if that means they'll throw their javelin first. I feel like that means they'll just poke with their spear, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. That's particular I've not. I don't know. And then he has these Cardasses? And these guys are okay. They're basically just a peltass, but without a javelin and a little more protection. They're... They have formation fighters. They've got better DPS than the peltasts, for sure, because they're getting 4 attacks per square. The value indicates the extra amount of size points that can fit in a square that consists of only formation fighters. Okay, so yeah, 4 attacks per square with these guys, because it's 2. So they can beat like human troops, and he has them also on hold and attack closest. He has his prophet up here scripted to cast Sermon of Courage, and then Blessing. Oh, you don't need to cast Blessing here. There's no sacred units in your army. Except your prophet, but your prophet's always blessed. Your prophet is always blessed. You don't need to bless him. So this is pointless. This doesn't do anything. And even if you wanted to bless something, you can just cast Divine Blessing, which, as it says, it's the same, except it affects all your friendly holy units. But then he's just casting Claim Life 3 times. I guess he will be blessing this mage? No, she's staying back. She's researching. I like the chariots. I think the chariots on attack archers is sort of... like, this is an okay idea. You have them going to hit their backline, but if you want them to really do that, just select rearmost enemies, because then they will walk... they'll basically, like, hit the flank, and then just charge forward, and then move north, like, sort of in a U shape. And that functions if they're at the top or the bottom of their battle line. They'll just slink to the flank and then go forward. So that's good. The chariots will help a lot. That said, I don't really know why these chariots need to be in a separate... I mean, the morale of your guys isn't very good. Like, it's getting +1 because you're in your capital right now, which is not normal. Once they leave their capital, they'll be lower. You are walking into a province with your dominion, so you'll maintain one of your morale points for being in friendly dominion. I should have mentioned earlier in the intro bit of this video, I don't intend to do like an extreme dissection of everyone's turns as the game's going on, but it's turn 2, so there's not that much to go over. So I'm just like looking at the stuff that I can right now that seems interesting. Like recruiting 2 mounted commanders, I don't know, I'd probably prioritize a mystic, because once this guy comes out, like if you built him this turn, you could have him walk into this province and start site searching immediately. Maybe this Arcus F Lee player wants to expand more, but I think this is like super greedy. 2 mounted commanders with chariots? Are you going to put 3 chariots on one guy and then 3 chariots on the other? Maybe they could take this province. This seems pretty easy. But outside of that, like, hitting this? No, you can't. Deer Tribe aren't nothing. Tribe are pretty strong, especially Wolf Tribe. Like, Wolf Tribe warriors have 2 attacks. They have 2 daggers that they stab you with. So they're actually 6 attacks per square. They're pretty deadly. They hit, like, they're deceptively strong for Tribe. The Ictids are, they have their nets, which are spooky, but chariots, I think, are big enough that nets won't do anything to them. I think if something's size 4, a net won't work. Maybe size 3. So chariots are definitely totally fine. They won't get affected by that, so they're just fighting naked fishmen. I'll just crush them, just run them over. Oh, he actually named his scout Tom Jones. Interesting. Yeah, he has him down here scouting. These are his scales. His dominion's presently 1, but presumably it'll build up with time. He's got Order 3, Production 3, Cold 3, Growth 3, Luck 3, and Magic 3. So I think it's highly likely he did not take an Incarnate Bless, and that this is all his god's really providing. Maybe his god has tiny points and paths, like little bits. But for the most part, he's running like a real late game, like, okay, I'm going to churn out a lot of money, a lot of magic gems, a lot of research points, a lot of resources, recruitment points, and just build up. This is good. I always like scales. I'm not sure it's entirely necessary on Arcus F Lee. Like, does Arcus F Lee really need 3 order? I guess the chariots are expensive on recruitment points, but you're not going to make these after year 1. What about the hoplites? No, these guys don't cost them any recruitment points. I wouldn't take order 3, maybe order 1, because these things just aren't expensive recruitment point wise. The only reason you take order is if you think your recruitment point costs are constricting. Like, I can understand the resource. I can understand production 3 because your resources are kind of expensive. Like, this is 25, this is 31, and this is probably your most common unit you're going to make. So I can understand that. Growth 3 is always good. Luck 3 I love. And Magic 3 self-explanatory. Just power up your research. Get better research late game. Oh, he actually rolled Thaumaturgy 1. That's a cool Thaumaturgy, or cool bit of magic to start with. So he's immediately going for Thaumaturgy 2. Presumably for Mind Burn. And we'll have to see what he does after that. So that's Arcus F Lee's turn. And then we have Ulm's turn. As for Ulm, so immediately I would like to point out that there's a egregious error occurring here, and that is that Ulm is floating 1 commander point. So this province has 3 commander points to spend each month, meaning you could recruit another Master Smith. Now, he wouldn't come out this turn, of course, but next turn, when the fort produces 3 more commander points, it'll be at 4. So the 2 commanders that are queued up will get built on the same turn. And this is a special thing that really only Ulm and Marignan have access to because they have citadels. This is a core element to their success, is that they can pump out so many more mages than the other nations can, because they have citadels. But maybe he's just saving his gold. I don't really think you need to save your gold as Ulm. Oh yeah, so these are scales. I mean, they're pretty generic Ulm scales, like just maxed out scales with Drain, because Ulm can afford to take Drain. He's got mundane researchers, so it's not a penalty. This is his Bless, Reinvigoration 2, and Mountain Survival. I'm not sure what the Mountain Survival is for. Maybe his god took 1 extra level of Earth, so that way he could cast some sort of big spell, or he just had high Earth. Because this is Earth 5. I guess that's the point. I mean, that makes sense. If you wanted to cast Earthblood Deep Well, you would need Earth 4 at least. But then you could just make a Bloodstone. You didn't need to take Earth 5 on your Pretender. Or maybe there's something down here in Conjuration. Well, this is Earth 5. Maybe Contact Iron Angel. I don't like this spell very much. I've had a lot of bad success with this, but actually he's rushing straight down Construction 3 right for Legions of Steel, which I think is a fantastic early goal. Legions of Steel is so strong on Olmite's early game. And looking at his army, he has he has his guys with axes on a secondary row and pikeneers on a front row. I don't really know what the logic behind this is. Like, the pikes will just smash up into the enemies, and any other enemies will just like flood around them. meaning the battle axe guys in the back, most of them won't be fighting. Like maybe if they were up here, they would be doing something, because then you could hold a bigger line and you could like hold the tide back a little more, because early game your problem is you don't have enough troops. But anyway, his commander is scripted to do nothing, which is definitely not a good idea. I mean, this guy could just like waste his time casting like Holy Word and Holy Avenger, when really the only thing you want him to do is cast Sermon of Courage once and then just spam your Smite spell 4 times, because that's 4 kills. But the Prophet will probably do the thing that makes sense. Oh, these are the current mercenaries. Looks like Ulm's not bidding on them. Not sending any messages out. We already looked at his bless. This is what he's recruiting. I mean, the Pikeneers, I think, are an all-around good choice, because they get they never have to worry about being repelled, because they have like the longest length weapons of anything in the game at this point. So they'll never have to worry about making a repel check, which they probably wouldn't pass with stats this poor. And he's going after Lion Tribe. That should be pretty extremely easy. He has, though, Amazons in his cap circle, which is crazy. The Jade Amazon is a super cool unit. I mean, really, all the Amazon mages are really strong, but this one is a water nature mage, which is excellent, because Ulm doesn't have that magic. Like, here, I'll show you. These are all the magic paths that Ulm gets access to natively. So with the Jade Sorceress, you've now got water and nature, which is insane. It increases your ability to do anything. Like, your magic diversity increases substantially, giving you the ability to more efficiently wage war, because now you can cast more powerful spells. Like, for example, here I'll bring up a really good one in, I think, Alteration. No, it's an enchantment, maybe? Yeah, Enchantment 5, Foul Vapors. This is just a battlefield winning spell. You cast this, and you gas your enemy, and they die. The only nation that's weak against is, like, Ermor or Sitis. So this is really good. This is an extremely good lucky random for Ulm. I don't know what these Doghead guys do for you. I don't know if they give you anything special. Bone Tribe, I think, may have a Death Mage as like a... I think like a Death Air Mage is their indie that they could have. So that's actually insane. Like, if Ulm actually got Nature Water indies and Death and Air indies, that's super lucky. Ulm's biggest problem is they don't have magic diversity. And his magic diversity problems are gone already. It's turn 2, and his magic diversity problems are solved. So, just out of the gate, seems like Ulm has a pretty strong start ahead of them. But this formation sucks. I would change it. I would script differently. And I would recruit another commander. But everything else seems pretty cool. Quit without saving every time. And then Marignon. So Marignon is over here. I guess I haven't really looked at the map too much, but... interesting. I'm just looking at where other people are playing. I think Arcus F Lee was here. And Ulm is right here in the swamp. So Ulm and Marignon are actually at opposite ends of this valley here, between these two mountains, between these two mountain ranges. I mean, if you could call this a mountain range. So they're probably going to have this area hotly contested. Maybe not these terrible, terrible deserts, but this more centralized road. This map has a feature that's not commonly seen on Dominion's 5 maps, at least none that I've really bumped into, which are roads, which I think are really cool. They reduce your map move cost by 4, which makes it really easy to jump up a big army down a bunch of roads. and like reposition them quickly as long as you own them, which makes them a valuable strategical element to take. So I'm curious how they will influence the game on this map. Anyway, Marignon. So, his Bless. Very expectedly, Marignon's Bless is a nightmare. He took attack skill 4, he took magic weapons, defense skill 3, magic resist 1, undying 4, blood surge, combat speed, and unaging. I guess I don't know if unaging is really worth it. I guess it is. Yeah, you've got fire mages. That makes sense. Sure. When they're born with a. Okay, maybe not these guys. Well, oh no, he has unaging already. All right. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Fair enough. Yeah, Marignon is a strong nation. You can see he is abusing his 3 commander points, pumping out a paladin and 2 assassins this turn, and also some flagellants and crossbowmen, which I find interesting. He didn't get a prophet this turn. Presumably one of these 3 commanders will be his prophet, because he's not making one with any of these. But yes, his Bless is obviously his build. Like, we could look at his scales. His scales suck. Turmoil 2, Productivity 3 is good. Heat 3, Growth 3, Misfortune 2, Magic 3. Okay, they don't suck that badly. Like, they're good. They're good scales for sure. He must have an imprisoned pretender to afford scales like these, especially with the Bless he took. The Eater of Filth. Anyway, his army. Okay, so he's got crossbowmen in the back. 22 crossbowmen set to hold and fire closest. And some pikeneers set to hold and attack closest. I think this is fine. The crossbowmen will shoot. The only thing you really have to worry about is because crossbows are armor-piercing, pierce damage weapons. It's a little awkward that it's pierce damage and armor-piercing. It's 2 separate things. They really mutilate armor, which means your poor pikeneers are, well, if they get hit by one of your crossbowmen, they're done. They will die in 1 hit. He's just telling his friar to hang behind his troops, which I think is totally fine. But if I were in his shoes, I would hold position 5 times, because if you tell your commander to stay behind troops, they just hug the back of your units. So, like, as the units move up, he will move up with them, just still staying behind them. But if you tell him to hold in place, he will sit in his spot for 5 turns, which is a lot of time. The battle can basically be decided by that point. As for research, okay, he got some lucky randoms here with Construction 2 right off the bat. But looks like he's going for Enchantment 2. I don't know why. I couldn't say as to why he wants Enchantment 2. Maybe he wants something more down enchantment? Like, Flaming Arrows seems like a reasonable goal, but I don't know about the early game viability of that. If I were Marignon, I would definitely get Thaumaturgy 1, of course, because you need your communions up as soon as possible. This is a Fire Astral nation, right? With air and earth. This nation is just the same as Ulm. It's got the same paths as Ulm. How ridiculous. It's like Ulm, but inverted. Anyway. Yeah, no, I would definitely get Thaumaturgy. I would consider Construction 3. Also, since you're really close to it, getting Legions of Steel. Maybe he's going for Strength of Giants. Maybe he's hoping for a lucky Earth random, and then he's going to cast Strength of Giants. I could see that. That would be strong. Especially with his Sacred Cavalry, that would make them extremely killy. As for his surroundings, he's got nothing too intimidating over here. Yeah, just some generic tribe. But here, this is a really special site. Much like how Ulm is next to Jade Amazons, Marignon is next to Onyx Amazons. And Onyx Amazons are cool because they increase your magic diversity. Ulm Marignon, like Ulm, has very poor magic diversity. That's sort of one of their principal problems. So the more magic they get access to, the more powerful they can become, the more spells they can cast, the more options they have available to them, the more solutions they have to problems. So with the Onyx Sorceress, he gets Earth 1, Death 1 mages. Potentially Death 2, probably not. But still, this breaks him into Death. This is really easy Death. And Death is probably... it's definitely one of the better paths of magic, undeniably. I was going to say the best, but I don't know about that. Nothing can topple Earth. But these are Earth mages too, so that's good. I'm not familiar with the Earth-Death cross path. I don't know what that provides for you. I guess we could look at it a little bit. Conjuration, nothing. Alteration. Oh, unless you cast Blight. This is a fun spell. Yeah. If you cast this on someone's capital, this could definitely ruin their day. Anything in Evocation? No. Construction? Poison Golem? Ooh. Well, if we get to Construction 9. Oh, Enchantment's got some stuff. Hidden in Sands, hidden underneath. These things give you mages and also a bunch of soldiers, so they're pretty cool. Fields of the Dead. Oh man, wow. That's insane. Was this like Howl, except with skeletons? When you kill them? That's cool. And Thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy doesn't have anything. So, anyway. Still, maybe not a crazy strong cross path, but Death access is fantastic. You know, Ulm was floating like 400 gold on his turn. I would suggest purchasing the Mercenaries to help with your early expansion, just because, yeah, he's got 400 gold, and he's spending everything. Like, he's spending all of his resources basically as efficiently as he can. I mean, he's not recruiting another Master Smith, but if he did, then that would be one less Pikeneer, to be fair. I still think the Master Smith's better, but it's not like he could spend this gold on really anything else, so I would consider getting the Mercenaries. Snake Charmers... well, it could beat this province. It could beat that province. And then we get to Agartha. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. What was his? Nice. So, looking at his Bless, he has Reinvigoration 1, HP 1, Blood Surge 3, and Unaging. And looking at his scales, he has no Order, Productivity 3, Heat 3, which definitely makes sense. I think the reason some of the other players have taken Cold 3 is to counter Agartha, because his guys are cold-blooded. I don't think that is really... I'd still prefer Heat 3 because I like the way the map looks on Heat versus Cold, but there is something to be said for Cold scales. I just don't think, like, MA Agartha doesn't rely on their recruitable troops to win. They rely exclusively on statues. They are a statue-spamming nation, and their statues are insanely strong. As for recruitment, he is making an Earth Reader, which is a fine researching mage. It's sacred, so it is very cheap to research with. And it's cheap early game. It lets him get out these troglodytes, which I think are a super cool unit. These troglodyte slaves, even as slaves, they have good morale. They do cost a lot, and they do cost a lot in upkeep, but they hit really hard, and they trample too, so they just, like, obliterate unarmored indies. He's getting some heavy infantry too, which is fine, a single light infantry. Strange recruitment order, but, you know, he's spending all of his resources and gold efficiently, which is cool. Around him, he has barbarians, which is unfortunate. Ghouls and long dead, which should be easy to clean up. Militia, nothing. And then Deer Tribe. What's in his starting army? So he has That's weird. Why are these guys morale 1? Oh, he has them in sparse line formation. -1 to squad morale. I wonder why that is. I don't actually know what sparse line formation looks like, and I'm curious as to why they are in that formation. I mean, their morale's good enough. Like, it's going to be 11 once they leave their... Oh, it's actually going to be 10, because it's not even in their Dominion. That's actually scary. 10 morale is pretty poor. They're getting 1 for being in their cap and 1 for being in their Dominion. So that could actually... These guys could actually run. I'm sure they'll win. Like, these guys are... Deer Tribe just suck. Their protection is too low. I'm sure he'll win. Oh no! His prophet is being told to stay behind troops. The commander casts spells, fire missile weapons, or if unable to do so, tries to pull himself behind the rearmost unit. Okay. Okay, never mind. So it looks like, at least according to that description, he'll cast spells first. So that's okay. I would always click cast spells, because then he'll cast spells. And the AI is pretty stupid. They'll sometimes script things that don't make sense, like Smite Demon or Banishment. Not always, but occasionally that can happen. I would just cast Word of Stone 5 times. The Troglodytes hitting the rear, I think, is a noble idea, but a problem is these Troglodytes are really fast. They're way faster than your other guys, even your light infantry. That's another issue. Your light infantry are 10 combat speed, and the Agarthan infantry are only 8. This poor guy is 7. So the light infantry are going to overtake the heavy infantry and get in front. And I don't think there's enough space here that the light infantry will be sufficiently slow. The Troglodytes will definitely make contact first. So I think they should be like back here. And if you wanted to do something like this, maybe something more like this would work. And in this formation, you tell your prophet to Sermon of Courage to courage buff these guys, and then just have them cast Smite. And this way you'll hit everything over here, and you'll sort of attract the AI mobs to this northern flank to let your Troglodytes just run forward and blow up their commanders. But I'm not sure this is the best use for Troglodytes. I wonder if just telling them to attack closest enemy is the best idea. Just have them run into the front line and just start punching. Because they're so good at killing indies. But I don't know. Maybe this will work out. What is he researching? He's researching... He's got some nice randoms already with... Oops. Yeah, you can see down here... Conjuration gives a lot of fun spells for Agartha. You get these Children of Magma, which are decent for only 2 fire gems. You get 5 of them. This thing, which I don't like personally, but for 2 earth gems you get an earth elemental. The best part about this is you get the earth elemental fast, only at Conjuration 3 versus at Conjuration 5. But you get some other neat stuff. Ulm Conclave, which gives you a bunch of great Ulms, and an Ulm Sage Commander. This is a really cool spell, and definitely I think a great use for water gems. Umbrals are fantastic. These things are really good drainers, and they just drain and drain. But really, your best stuff's in enchantment, for sure. These statues, which he can cast immediately at the start of the game, these things are insane, and they just get better. Like, every next level of these things is just crazy. I think the Granite Guard are the peak. The Marble Oracle's good, too. Hall Statues is, like, just the big middle finger, like, just get 20 plus. Plus 4! Wow. Yeah, that's insane. And you'll see the statues when they come out, I'm sure. But presently he's going for Construction 2 for lesser items. What would he want at Construction 2? Well, Ulm has access to... I keep saying Ulm. Agartha has access to Earth, Fire, and Water. So, I guess... Fire in a Jar? That's a good one. I'm not sure what you're going to make with water. I guess Shambler Skin Armor, but your statues don't need that. Well, your commanders... No, they're amphibious. Oh, he also has Death as well. Of course, Agartha has Death. Yeah, maybe he just wants, like, limited thug equipment. Not sure. Or maybe he's planning on getting Construction 3 to cast Legions of Steel, and he just queued up to Legions of Steel, much like how it is for many other nations in this game, is very good on Agartha. It really buffs up their troops, and their standard troops really need that extra protection. With it casted on them, it makes them hold the line a lot more efficiently, and I think that would really give them a great edge against everyone in this game, except Ulm, but just because Ulm has troops that will just chop you up for 22 damage. You know, just like smash you super badly. Anyway, looking at this Bless, it's somewhat decent, but it's not that great. But considering these scales are kind of on the poorer end, you know, mirroring Marignon's, but I think he probably took Incarnate Blesses, because his statues are sacred, so he doesn't really need the Incarnate Bless immediately. Which makes sense to me. Still not going for the Mercenaries. Looks like no one's going for the Mercenaries. Looks like he's not going to be using his Sacreds, which I think is fine. I don't like these Sacreds very much. Like, they're okay. Having Curse is neat. And they hit really hard, so if you need magic damage in high numbers, they can do that. But their attack skill is really poor. Their defense sucks. They're expensive. Their protection isn't that good. They're kind of tanky. They've got good resistances-ish. Their encumbrance isn't the worst. Like, they're not bad Sacreds by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't. They're no Van Heers. And then we come to the final turn. Fascia. What is? I think his is. Yeah. So, as for Fascia, his scales really suck. He's got no order, no productivity, heat 3, growth 3, misfortune 2, no magic. And as you can see, his bless is insane. He's got morale 2, poison resistance, fire resistance. I'm curious why the poison resistance? Like, it's good. There's not really like a bad time to have poison resistance. But the nations that you're going up against, the only person who's going to have reliable access to nature is Arcus F Lee, and he can't put those nature mages in a communion. I think. I don't think he can do that. I mean, not without like a crystal matrix or something. I don't think they roll astral. So I'm unsure about the poison resistance. But maybe he is doing foul vapor strategy. Fascia definitely gets nature in communion, so maybe he could cast foul vapors. And fire resistance is always a nice thing. Magic resistance 2, which is really good, especially in this game when there's so many astral nations that you're going up against. You know, Ulm, Marignon, Fascia themselves, and of course the Arcus F Lee. So, and then he took looks like Death 6, because he's got Undead Leadership plus 20 and Undying 4, HP 1, Blood Surge. So it's a pretty big bless, but it's more defensive than offensive. Unlike Marignon's bless, which is way more offensive. So even though this is bigger, I'm not sure it's actually better. This is, it's definitely not more killy, but it's more general. And what does he have? So he just has a bunch of light infantry and then Colossi light infantry on fire. Which this seems right. I think being on fire means they'll throw their javelins first. And then once they've used their javelins, they will go and poke with their spears. And then you have the men with their short bows, which aren't very impressive, just hitting for 9 damage. Very weak. A cool thing about Fascia is they have this mechanic called the Dark Sails, or Dark Vessels, where all of their commanders have this ability. Even indie commanders that they recruit get this. That they can basically sail anywhere within their dominion. So if his dominion spreads to this province, he can sail from his capital to here via Dark Vessels. And another neat thing about Dark Vessels is they have no limit on how many or large the people aboard them can be. So they can bring giants along, which is important because Phaecia is a nation of giants. Not the biggest of giants, but they do have some. And what is he recruiting? Colossi Weaver, which is fine. This is a pretty great mage. It's got a forge bonus, which I really like. It's pretty expensive, but considering you're getting 3 magic paths and a lot of variety in those magic paths, I think it's worth it. I think this is probably your workhorse mage. And then he's making more of these light infantry, which I really disparaged in my Hinnom game, because these guys are somewhat similar to the Avite light infantry. I've come around to these guys. I think they're a lot better than they initially are. I just really don't like paying 20 gold for a guy with a spear and a javelin and poor protection. But their stats are they're actually quite good. 11 attack skill, 11 defense skill. Like, that's nice. That's really cool. That's like quality that you really expect on elves, not on humans. I mean, on giants it kind of makes sense, but also playing Jotunheim, like, wow, so many of Jotunheim's troops just have garbage stats. Not all of them, but... and these are his sacreds, which these guys are cool. They're kind of like Agartha's shard guards, except they hit for less. They have a shield, though. Their stats are much better stats, even though their defense skill is being buffed by the 5 protection of their shield. Still, their shield is really strong. It's a really big, sturdy shield. 22 protection, like, it'll block most things. It'll block the All Might's double two-handed battle axe. So I like these guys. I think it's a good idea to take a bit of a bless for them, because they can definitely solo expand. I'm not sure if this bless will help them out that much, though. At least not against Indies. The magic resistance is good. The resistances are cool. The extra HP is alright. Blood Surge is great. Undead Leadership. This nation doesn't have death by default. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe 1 level of Undead Leadership. I'm nitpicking, frankly. Maybe there's more to his bless than what we've seen here. Or maybe his Pretender's just dormant, because these scales are pretty AIDS. Like, these are the worst scales of the entire game that we've seen so far. Positionally, there is some interesting geography here between these nations. This, I think, is the most noteworthy province on the map, as it is a throne, of course, but it's a phantasmal throne, even. It's on a really nice choke point that sort of divides this section of land from this section, being the only bridge between these two large lakes. However, Phaecia has sailing, so he can just sail over it. Which I think will be a real benefit to him. We'll have to see how he uses it, and he's immediately going for this province too, so he'll have access to sail into all these provinces, really opening up his ability to maneuver and get around. I think his position is actually one of the strongest because of this throne being such an excellent stopgap early game to prevent early rush. He really doesn't have to worry about that flank, and yet he can still safely expand over here. Like, he's already moving his prophet, his scout prophet, over here to this province, and once the prophet's over here, it's going to start generating Dominion, so he can sail over here immediately. So I think it's a good move. He'll be able to move there with his next expansion army that he makes. What's around him? Nothing too interesting. Apart from that, looks like all pretty easy stuff. This is a very valuable province. 110 gold is really nice. 119, wow, super nice province. 2 really good ones, in fact, right next to the capital. But otherwise, geographically, Phaecia's over here. So Phaecia's over here. Marignan is down here. So if Marignan goes north and Phaecia goes south, they'll bump into each other somewhere along here. Ulm is down here in the swamp, and since Marignon's over here, it's likely this area will be contested between them. Agartha is down here in this forested cave of 40. So he could come into contact with Marignon, or maybe Ulm, depending on how good his expansion is. I guess if he goes east and Ulm goes west, they'll contact each other. Which just leaves the last player, which was Arcus F Lee. Oh, where was Arcus F Lee? I forgot. I'm just going to go back and check. Arcus F Lee. Oh, he's right here. Okay, interesting. So Arcus F Lee actually has a lot of free space to himself. Well, kind of. It depends. If Fascia abuses his sailing and goes over these lakes, he could really get in Arcus F Lee's face. But otherwise, Arcus F Lee is going to have Ulm to his south, maybe Agartha to his south and to his north, maybe Agartha and Ulm again, maybe Fascia over here. Like, he's actually got a lot of room to work with. Arcus F Lee has a really nice open spat of land that he'll probably be able to take pretty effortlessly compared to Ulm and Marignon, who I think will rapidly run into hostilities, especially if they focus on these roads. Like, they will come into contact with each other quick. And Ulm and Agartha as well. Fascia, I think, is relatively safe. But these three players are in somewhat of a taxing location. That's cool that Arcus F Lee can see more accurately with the scrying. I wonder if that lets you see magic sites. Arcus F Lee is sending a message to Ulm this turn, actually. The diplomats of Arcus F Lee requests a meeting to look into the possibility of an alliance between the false prophets in the world. What? Oh, against the false prophets in the world. Shall you accept talk over terms of a said alliance? Well, that's cool. That's actually... I mean, Arcus F Lee doesn't realize that Ulm is going to be his southern border, sooner rather than later. So that's a pretty good ally to have. Secure your southern flank and just safely take all this delicious, juicy land. Speaking of which, since this game is a throne-based game, these three thrones are super close to each other. Like, this is really easy. This is a real easy throne rush here. You take this cave, which is in such a cool province. You take this throne, and then this one is underwater. So, who can contest this, really? Fascia, Agartha, with their statues. Yeah, this seems like... I think the game could be decided based on this lake. Whoever controls this lake could win the game very rapidly. If they could take these three thrones, suddenly they have 6 ascension points and they only need to secure another throne. Like Fascia, for example, has this dude in their cap circle. If they run down here and start securing this lake, I think they're in an extremely good position to win the game. Because these things are so close. The other 2 thrones are where? There's one here, which is in Ulm's cap circle, which is good. And where's the other one? Oh yes, down here, next to Agartha. We'll have to see if Agartha takes this. Again, this spat of land over here, maybe it'll be contested by Fascia and Agartha fighting over here. I'm not sure. It's really like early predictions that maybe will come out to being totally wrong in the future. I am making these videos as the turn is about to roll. So, in fact, I am going to host after this video is over. I'm going to click this button and give the players their turns. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, so there won't be any spoilers because I can't provide any spoilers. But I am curious, who do you think will win? So, because I'm really unsure. The player skill among these guys is all really quite low. I think Marignon's had the most multiplayer experience, followed by Agartha. And then Arcus F Lee after that, and Ulm and Fascia both have like just a single game, maybe not even a single game. No, definitely at least one multiplayer game. But we'll just have to wait and see.